Welcome to Sri and Kira Live. As our world spins seemingly out of control, we are all experiencing time speeding up, chaos shifting to a new level, and a yearning to know the greater mysteries of the universe. What does it all mean? Visionary spiritual teachers and best-selling authors Sri Ram Kaur and Kira Ra explore these mysteries, offer live soul readings, and invite you to open up your mind, body, and spirit to the paradigms that are shifting. Bringing you fresh perspectives and timeless wisdom, here are Sri and Kira.
Namaste and welcome. I am wisdom teacher Sri Ram Kaur.
And I am Kira Ra, and we are so delighted that you have decided to join us right here at Sri and Kira Live, the voice of passionate action. Sri, this is a show that we have already been getting so much listener mail. We have been getting so many comments. People have been reading the articles that we are not taking live callers today, and hang with us because you're going to be glad we're not. There is so much information.
Well, today we're going to start discussing the cannabis revolution. You know, something...
Oh, I like that. The revolution. And this time it is televised.
It is televised. I think it's always been televised,
Yeah, well,
but downplayed
sure.
by the mainstream. But, you know, the whole... cannabis, you know, the whole thing, marijuana and cannabis, certainly for someone of my age, it immediately triggers the whole memories of Haight-Ashbury and what was going on in the 60s and 70s and the Vietnam War and all of that.
Totally. I immediately get, like, first of all, to me, it always will be pot, and I want to put back on my bell bottoms with all the patches and my headband. I had a very cool headband.
I bet you did.
I did, baby.
See it, right?
You know it.
And so, you know, from that start of the era of free love, the libertarian thing that was going on, we moved through the decades, and cannabis started taking let's just say it started being set aside in favor of other preoccupations.
Well, you know, it did, Sri, but I think what's really important is we have, you know, it's so funny, I talk about dating ourselves. I keep hearing that old Virginia Slims commercial. Remember that one? You know, you've come a long way, baby, to get where you've got to today.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense right now.
Well, you know, I just happen to remember, I graduated from high school in 1970.
Wow,
And,
you're old.
Yeah. Well, no, let's just say I have more years. I'm not old yet.
Just so you know, guys, I did not graduate high school in 1970.
But the reason I bring that up is prior to that time, marijuana was not as criminalized.
Yet in 1936 was when they put out Reefer Madness.
Exactly. They considered it a controlled substance, but in 1970, under federal law, it became illegal to possess, use, buy, sell, or cultivate marijuana. It then became a Schedule I drug.
It also then became profitable like crazy to keep it underground.
Well, the black market certainly took a jump. And as far as the federal government was concerned, marijuana has no acceptable medical use. And that law remains unchanged on the books today.
Despite the incredible awakening. And that's why we're here today. You know, we are here today. One of the things that Sri and I have talked about often is Sri and I are both baby boomers, born at both ends of the spectrum. It was a very long spectrum. You were born near more of the beginning of the baby boomer generation, and I think I was born during the last year of the baby boomer generation.
You just made it in.
I just snuck in there, baby. And one of the things that I think is really important to pay attention to is that the baby boomer generation started something. You know, we started something. We were the ones that when it came to protesting the Vietnam War, we were putting roses in the ends of guns. We were putting flowers in there. We were trying to do this in a way that showed the beauty of that. And you know, honestly, I remember being in college. I admit I was a card-carrying member of NORML, which was the National Organization for the Reformation of Marijuana Laws. I was very, very, very active. And that was when I was in college. And then what happened, Sri, come on, let's face it, baby boomers went through this ridiculous withdrawal where they became yuppies. And, you know, I mean, it's a reality, you know.
Instead of consuming recreational drugs, they started consuming electronics
and
home
money.
Appliances.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and what happened was that they forgot who they were. And I say that collectively. And so here we are now at full circle, whereas many baby boomers are, 50s, 60s, beyond. We're full circle, and we have this extraordinary, powerful, potent generation or generations that have come up behind the boomers, and together positive change is coming. We know that there is awakening in consciousness. We know that this is a lie, that what they say about marijuana, what they've done, what they've hidden is a bold-faced lie. And I just want to share with all of our listeners, we are ecstatic and delighted that a beautiful, beloved being who we adore has agreed to be on with us today. This is a gentleman who really has his hands in the earth, who really understands the planet, who understands biodynamic farming and how to grow, and understands from a perspective that I feel a lot of people have lost. And it's really an honor and a pleasure to bring him forward this way today.
And so, our guest today, he kind of quietly calls himself Senior Mundo because he's a world citizen.
He is a world citizen. And for the purposes of this show, we're just giving him the name Corey. We're not disclosing his name because we truly don't want him to have any ramifications for doing the great service that he's doing in sharing his wisdom and his insights.
Well, Corey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here with you guys.
We're happy to have you here, and truly thank you for the service and the gift. So go ahead, Sri.
And just to establish a little bit of context, I'm aware that you live in the state of California, which was one of the first states to open up medical marijuana as an approved treatment for people with various conditions. Have you been involved in the industry since that time?
I have, yeah. I got involved it's probably been almost 20 years now, and got involved and interested in it, and was always a gardener, and so it made sense for me to check it out and just do what I like to do, farm, and it seemed like a good thing because you could make good money and be outside, which was really important to me.
Well, absolutely, and to have that connection with the planet in a way that sustains your body and your spirit and your mind, and that's really, I think that's really one of the things that we have happening on our planet right now, is that you cannot separate the number one, the amount of people that are I want to use the word whistleblowing about the truth of medical marijuana and the truth of marijuana in and of itself. You even have Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who has really become a wonderful role model as far as people that are saying, enough with the lies, let me show the truth.
Well, yeah, and in just, I mentioned a minute ago that in 1970, the federal government classified marijuana as a drug with no medical redeeming qualities, yet 20 U.S. states and the District of Columbia have passed laws allowing some degree of medical use of marijuana, and 14 states have taken steps to decriminalize it. Mm-hmm. Now, there's lots of scientifically documented benefits of marijuana, everything from pain relief to improved mental health, fewer seizures and trembling, and helping with glaucoma. And it seems to synergize with other pharmaceuticals to help them work better.
Well, it gets us into this conversation, Corey, and I really want to have you join us in this conversation about big pharma, about profits that can be synthesized. I mean, Sri, you and I both, I've had my own journey through cancer, and as a matter of fact, guys, coming up May 25th, make sure you put it on the books to listen to the show. We're going to talk about another powerful cure. But, I want to read just one quote from Sanjay Gupta, which I love. And here's what he said last month. He said, among other things, that this journey, meaning the journey of the emerging science of marijuana, is also about a draconian system where politics override science and patients are caught in the middle. And I find that just to be a real, pardon my use of the word, cancer that's in our society right now, is the cancer of politics and profits outweighing true verified science and people feeling better. I mean, look at cancer cures that have been out there forever, and they're buried because they can't be synthesized. So, Corey, when you stepped into this field, you said you've been in this field for about 20 years now. What have you noticed has shifted in the past 20 years? What have you noticed that's shifted the most as far as people's attitudes or receptivity and understanding in this field?
Well, it really just started out with people just really enjoying the herb and wanting to grow it and to make money, and because it was, it was worth a lot 20 years ago. It was for $4,000 or $5,000 a pound. So everybody was chasing that, getting that dollar and
Wow.
and getting high off this plant, and enjoying their work. And then I think it was 1998 is where I live, is where things started to change, and we got a proposition on the ballot. I think it was 215 or 420. There was two different ones that were here, and we were able to legalize enough so we could have 20 each parcel could have 25 plants, and
Now,
to grow
what's
for
a
medical
parcel?
reasons. Parcel could be. I believe it was over an acre. You could do 25. It changes all the time. They have all these different rules that it's really confusing, to be honest. But we
you
have to
think that's
keep up with,
intentional?
especially now. Say again?
Do you think the confusion is intentional?
Yeah, absolutely, because the Fed is always there, and basically, 10 years ago, we were doing our 25, and it was fine with the local county, and the state had their laws, which was 12 plants per person. So we had a county rule, we had a state rule, and then, of course, we had the feds that were saying one plant's not okay. It's completely illegal.
Right.
So it was, we were always on our toes, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I can see that. And so what are you seeing is changing? You said back in, what was it now? You said 98 was when you went to the 25?
98 was when 98 was when we first pulled in a sheriff and a DA that would support what the community felt was necessary to create this medicine, that helps people. And so, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I'm just curious. You described your initial entry into the field more from the standpoint of recreational use, and then moving now into the legalized medical marijuana field. Have you yourself found that it's invited you to put more research and study into what you're doing? How has it shifted you?
Yeah, I would say, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 years, more in the last two. Just now that we're understanding the research and that these different properties in the plant that we were kind of aware of, but we didn't really have the literature or the studies or the research access to it that we have now. And so now we're looking at it and we're saying, man, there's all these benefits, and it's not just recreational use, which I have no problem with, but especially if we can help people and see some dramatic changes when people are having some serious illnesses. I mean, that really shifted me, and it shifted the people that I work with and other growers. If we can be of service, we can really be a part of this big change that's happening.
Well, what a blessing. So I need to ask, how are you doing this? My heart is so big around you. You talk about the confusion. First, we have the local law, which says, okay, 25 is okay. Then we have a state that says 12 is okay. Then we have the feds that are saying, no, we're going to basically lock you up and put you in jail. How do you resolve that?
Yeah, we just we've kind of done what we've always done. We just go for it, and what's changed for us is we would just go for it, and a lot of hiding, and especially 20 years ago, 10 years ago, it was a lot of hiding and just hoping that they wouldn't come around or go away. But now we're supported by the locals, and we're supported by the state. We feel good about that. The only big fear is just that the feds will come in and clean house. What we've seen lately is that they've been leaving anything that's under 100, they've been leaving. And that's just in my area, which is a big change, because we have permits now that we can do 100 under the state law, with all these different regulations and things that you have to follow, like no children can be around and things like that.
Was it hard to get
so we're able to do 100.
Was it hard to get a permit?
Not really. It's just a matter of registering, and that's the other issue, is that we didn't really want to register for a long time. There was a few people, there was a couple of groups, maybe 3 years ago, that went ahead and did what we call a collective, and this is a collective of a bunch of people that have the prescriptions, and they put them together, and then you can grow a certain amount of plants. But the feds, we had someone here that was really legitimate, was paying their taxes, doing everything right, and bam, they got busted. They popped them, and everybody just went, oh, and everybody kind of backed out and went, made.
So let me make sure I'm clear on this before you finish.
Yeah.
So a group of patients got together, formed a collective so that they could magnify the number of legal plants.
That's correct.
Okay, and then the farmer got busted who was doing this on behalf of the patients.
Yeah, they had registered and made their plan and did everything right, which was considered what you have to do to be legal.
So what happened to them? Because that's just appalling.
They put him in jail. It was probably only a few days, and then they went to court and they hassled them. They paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to lawyer fees and different things. Yeah, they went through hell, and at some point it's more and more. They're just changing it. They're just saying, okay, now we're just going to give you a fee. Here's your $40,000. You have to pay us $40,000, and now you're for cleanup and different things, and so it's really hard to track what they're really doing, and it's just a lot of scare tactics as well.
Yeah, that sounds like how the feds like to work.
It is.
When I was looking at online for some research, I was stunned. I'm going to share this. So I mentioned 1970, it was a Class 1 drug, and in August 28th, 2013, so last August.
So last summer.
Yeah, last summer, the U.S. government announced they would no longer actively pursue marijuana offenses taken place in those states that have legalized the small consumption and possession of marijuana. That the DEA would only become involved if the offense involved violence or firearms, gangs, or cartels. All right. That was August 28th. I remember when Colorado was, they had approved their legalization, the feds went in and busted a lot of dispensaries.
Well, what they're doing is they're claiming that they're all cartel-based, and the reality is that the proof can be very ambiguous while they hassle people.
Well, have you seen the presence of gangs or cartels in your area?
Yes, we the last 2 years they've been focusing on our federal forests. We have a huge Federal Reserve, federal forest, and there's a lot of different cartels, and we have Russian cartels, we have Chinese cartels, we have people from all over the world here that are here to do it because we were considered soft. The state was considered soft on marijuana in a lot of ways, and so but they've cleaned house in the last 2 years. They've gotten out of the forest. And the thing with the cartels is that they were just dumping, and they were using chemicals and nasty stuff, and it was getting into the rivers. They were sucking all these rivers dry, and so it was a real problem. It was the other side of the story.
Indeed. And
marijuana.
So I guess my question would be, if you have people like yourself that are responsible and certainly paying, goodness gracious, a lot of money, you've come forward with registration, I don't understand why you would still be hassled.
Yeah, it's like you said. Would you say August of 2013? It has relaxed quite a bit, and like I said, last year we had heard that they were passing up anything that was under 100, and that's kind of the rule right now. That if it's and there's a lot of stuff where there's 500, there's people that have 1,000. They just clear mountaintops and really go for it. Yeah, and so there's a lot of people out there that are going to focus on the 100 and do it right and pay the taxes and just come out of the cave, so to say. That's what has been our theme. Is just we were just ready to be out there and just stand up for what we believe, that this is a sacred herb and it's a true medicine.
Agreed.
So 100 plants. How much land does that require?
For let's say 100 plants. It just depends how you plant them. If you're doing corn rows, I would say for one of our gardens is it's 40 plants, and so it's about 5-6 acres for that. And they're spaced about 15 feet apart because they get really, really big, and if we take good care of them.
Okay. Well, my only memory is from back in 1971, growing a seed in a coffee can, and it did not get that large.
Well, I do remember opening up my closet with 4 plants upside down, drying, but we won't go there.
Well, it does. You bring up the issue is there's really a growing medical clinical scientific basis of marijuana that we're going to talk more about as we move forward in our show.
Yeah.
And there has always been the recreational side, because marijuana provides a euphoria. Marijuana provides we'll call it the word high. It gives one a high that in many ways is far cleaner than other types of recreational drugs.
How about alcohol? I mean, and I think we have so much to talk about. We have a lot to talk about the chemical constituents of marijuana, how things are coming forward. But before we go any further, we want to just take a quick break. And so we're going to invite all of you to hang in there with us. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back. We have a lot of show to go with our special guest, Corey. Stay with us. Welcome to the Self-Ascension Classroom, affordable and beautiful home study for your mystical journey. Imagine the gift of studying everything that you've ever wanted at home and on your time. Yes, it is possible, and there is so much to choose from as you dive into your home study experience. Remember that with every moment you spend studying this gift, you ignite your divinity. Imagine the mysteries of the Tohil and the crystalline clarity and radiant abundance of Vesa, a mastery balancing technique and certification process, and then cosmic life regression. Travel the universe and remember. Allow yourself the gift of navigating the inner matrix. This beautiful Ascended Mastery program of the Violet Flame will take you to places you may not have dared to dream to go, and then you will rediscover the true gift of your divine nature. Yes, the time is now to study the ancient mysteries, and it's so easy to begin. Discover the Self-Ascension Classroom only at ShriandKira.com. That's ShriandKira.com. Namaste.
Welcome back. We're glad you're with us. And today we are exploring medical marijuana.
Oh, we're doing more than exploring, Sri. We are in it.
And we're delighted to have a grower online with us who has been involved with the field for many years.
Yeah.
And we're just also delighted that you, our beloved audience, is tuning in and exploring this controversial subject.
You know, we are truly, Sri and I are so blessed because I really believe that we have, bar none, Sri, the best listenership on the planet. Those of you that tune into Sri and Kira Live every week, we love you so much because you are the voice of passionate action. And remember, that's what our show is about. It's about the voice of passionate action. It's about the positivity and the way that we can harness our energy on this planet without anger. And this is the big difference between activism, which sadly is anger-based. I mean, it gets things done, but it's anger-based. It fuels the fire versus passionate action.
It feeds the very thing that you're resisting because,
exactly.
As you all know, what you resist will persist.
Indeed. And we did a whole show about sincerity and frustration. And so, long story short, we have some wonderful letters. And I know last week on the air, I mentioned that those of you that have written us not to worry, we were going to get your letters this week. And Corey, I have a letter here from a woman. I'd like to read you and really read it to you. She's a precious, precious listener. She gave me her last name. She's actually a chiropractor. I'm not going to read everything about it. But basically what she said is that she is looking to move to Colorado because she really wants to be a grower, and that she has been researching this. She's been a farmer her whole life, and she knows she needs to move, and she now wants to move to Colorado. She said, gosh, I went to Colorado on an exploratory mission, and they told me everybody and their brother's jumping into it and that there's no room for anybody else. And, she was really devastated. And so she was writing in for some advice. And so I'm just curious, what would you share to somebody like this who's saying, hey, Colorado now seems to be the place to go visualize my dream? What would you say to somebody like that?
I would say that you would want to consider a few things. You might want to consider California. I mean, Colorado's great. The only thing about Colorado is that they're doing a lot of indoor.
Mm-hmm. Hydroponic?
And so it's, lights, and you can do it with soil. Hydroponics mostly just water, water-based with nutrients in it. And it's lights, and so it's an artificial environment, which you can control a lot of things. You can do different things. But it's what I call robo-weed. It's artificial. It doesn't have that natural sunlight, and it makes a big difference to me energetically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I wouldn't say that there's no room in it. What's changing is that the CBD, we have different cannabinoids, THC and CBD, and now everybody's been really focusing on the THC for, I don't know, 40 years or something, working towards that higher THC, which is, what gets you that euphoric feeling. Mm-hmm. Well, now we're moving towards the CBD, which has most of the medical benefits. So what people are doing is we're creating different strains of plants that are full of CBDs, and if you can get those to market right away now, it's worth a lot of money. So there's still room, and there's so many people that are sick out there, and so I wouldn't say that there's no room for it.
Okay.
So
let's talk about CBD versus THC, and can you explain what these? I think there's THC, CBD, and is there one other one?
CBN.
CBN. So I have to admit, being a baby boomer, I only ever cared about THC. so what is? Help us understand what these are and what they're doing.
Okay. Well, THC, basically, which most people are a little more familiar with, which is the part that gets you high. It's the thing that almost intoxicates you. It makes you feel good, and can make you change your mind. If you're feeling depressed, it can make you just smile and laugh and giggle and that kind of thing, which most people have been chasing for a long time. Is just enjoying that part of the plant. And so what's happened over the years is that the growers and everybody who's working on these cannabis plants have been working harder and harder to get that higher THC level, because everybody's building tolerance to it. So we got to make something that's going to work for people that are heavy consumers of the THC part of the plant. And so what's happened is we've gone so far away from the other side of the plant, which is the CBN and the CBD and CBN. And so it's gone the total opposite direction. So a lot of the strains now are mostly THC. So it's an unbalanced medicine is basically what's happened. And so now we're trying to work our way back in getting these other strains back into our strains that will help bring up the CBD levels.
So what is CBD?
CBD, it's one of the cannabinoids. There's 100 different molecular compounds in cannabis, and there's different cannabinoids. And THC is one of them. CBD is one of them. CBN. There's a few others. I don't have it in front of me. They have to do. I don't have all the information on it, but basically the CBD is something that you have to build up in your body. It's something that you want to take periodically, and so it will kind of build up in your body, and it has more of the medicinal properties, the pain relief, the anti-inflammatory, the antioxidant.
I think that latter piece is really the magic word. Is the research I did on it is that the CBD gives you more of the physical effects in the body versus the mental euphoria, and so the anti-inflammatory effect is what they're saying. And a lot of this, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to throw this in.
No.
As the states have begun to research, more research is being funded, more and more is getting discovered. And then we move into the CBN, which is the anti-seizure cannabinoid,
very powerful.
That's used for the glaucoma patients also. And I remember being really touched by Dr. Gupta's story of this little girl with her seizures who nothing in conventional medicine could stop her seizures.
Yeah.
And the whole family had to pack up and move to a state where it was legal in order to save the life of their child.
Well, and one of the things I want to share is that, for those of you that are listening that maybe are not familiar with these documentaries, they're easy to find now, the ones that Sanjay Gupta produced. And if you just go to ShriandKiraRadio.com or ShriandKira.com, you'll see our article on marijuana, and we'll have links. There's links directly to these, and they're powerful, and as you said, Shri, moving. And Corey, I'm sure this is one of the changes you've seen over the years now, is almost these miracle stories happening.
Yeah, it's we have people just in the local area we've had these women's groups that have come together, and we're growing this organic herb and putting together these tinctures, and they were curing cancer. I mean, they had many people that have cured cancer in this area from these really
that's fabulous.
I mean, that just touches my heart so deeply, because you think about a natural herb that has been here, that has been used for millennia by the indigenous for so many reasons, that has not been abused, that quite frankly has enormous, many more benefits than alcohol has ever had. And then we look at the flip side, and I don't want to get into the conspiracy theories or anything like that. However, the reality is that there really was almost a conspiracy around taking it away. I mean, let's not forget that up until the early 30s, even cocaine was in Coca-Cola. That's why Coca-Cola made you feel so good.
Yeah, there's a secret ingredient, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
But
light and refreshing.
For those that are inclined to head toward the conspiracy side, the fact that you can grow a plant in your backyard that will help your health does, and it's not, they can't patent the plant, so
right.
the big pharma has lost control of that.
And there's no pot hangover. The reality is that I think it's important to pay attention to what this herb is doing. And I agree with you, Corey. It's a sacred medicinal herb. And I truly am grateful that I've lived long enough to see your generation doing something that should have been done during our generation, Sri. I mean, there's a part of me that's embarrassed that we didn't come this far.
Yeah, well, we were occupied with other agendas.
We were being yuppies.
But Corey, back to these cannabinoids or cannabinols. I don't quite know how to pronounce it.
I like the initials, the CBDs and the CBNs. I can do that.
What they've learned is there's like 80 of them that are totally unique. And
right.
So I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows what they can do. It's like all of the great pharmaceutical drugs have their derivatives from naturally occurring plants from the Amazon. And the great cures in our society were founded from natural herbs.
All of them.
And I think we're at that cusp of the same thing with marijuana, is that they're discovering that there are these enzymes and oils and agents within it. And so my question to you is, you started off just, as kind of this pacifist grower, is the vibe I get from you, that this was
with a sincere love of the earth and growing,
it was a natural it was a natural thing to do. And now you have what you shared with me is you're focused more on the emerging medicinal side.
It seems like your wisdom is expanding. Is that true?
Yeah, I would just want to start out and say that what really caught me is I had read an article, and I can't remember exactly where it was from, and what it said was that basically these pharmaceutical companies want to patent it, they want to take it, and they want to take this plant and they want to break it up into 60 different compounds and sell it back to the people at $5 per pill, and you have to take all these pills and you have to pay all this money when you can grow a beautiful plant in your own backyard and be done.
Well, see, right there.
And I thought, wow.
Yeah, no, right there. That's where the passionate action comes in, because the passionate action is doing what you're doing. I also want to go back for those of you that maybe are just checking in the show right now, that, one of the things Corey mentioned during the first part of the show that I really want to talk about are the people that are starting to use the chemicals and to just fast grow or get it out there for the dispensaries, Corey. I think just with our food market, because in many ways this is a food. It's a food of the soul. It's a food of healing. It's a food of the heart. You're saying, and I so want to support what you're doing, you're saying it's important that we don't lose contact with the organic beauty of this herb.
Yeah, absolutely. So true. And they're doing tests that if you want to, say you've gotten a prescription and you want to go, get some high quality medicine, you go to a dispensary to get it. And now a lot of the dispensaries are carrying ones that have been taken to a lab and checked for mold and pesticides and different things. So you can get things that are really pure and of the highest value for your body, which is really exciting for the medical use.
Yeah. The other thing, as a vegetarian, I always look for the leafy greens, things that were grown in the sun, because that sun energy is truly, the gift of the cosmos that, ignites health.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when you mentioned about these hydroponic herbs that are grown with artificial lighting or partial sun, it's not the same. It can't be the same.
Yep.
Yet from a science standpoint, if they're only looking at one measure or one chemical, they're blinded by the holistic aspect of the herb.
Well, totally. And, I want to take the conversation, Sheree, into a state of, the reality, Corey, what you're sharing, and I want to really get you to jump in with us on this one is, it seems to me, and maybe I'm all wrong on this, and you can say, Kira, you're full of it, but it seems to me that we as a collective consciousness, that there are those people on the planet that are truly awakening to the ways, the myriad of ways that people have been controlled. And I don't think it's any secret that Big Pharma is huge. Give people crummy food, and we're going to be doing a whole show on what we're eating coming up, guys. 2 weeks, join us. If you give people crummy food, they get sicker. Diabetes is out of control. Cancer's at all-time high. Lupus, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. These are diseases that are just seemingly rampant. And through the recent discoveries of what we're finding with marijuana and these CBDs and the CNNs, or the CNNs.
Well, the CNNs of the world.
You know it, the Foxes, the CBNs. What we're finding out is the government's true intentions. And through that, it would seem that we have an opportunity to harness the gift of our personal awakening if we choose to see it. And I'm curious, from your perspective, how that's affecting you. Are you seeing a growth in consciousness? Are you seeing more of a spiritual awakening? Are you seeing more people waking up and going, oh my God, I get that I've been lied to?
Yeah, I'm seeing it, all over the place. And, a good example is just some of these younger guys that get into the business of growing cannabis, and they get they buy these huge trucks, and they're just young, and they're just really showing themselves off with different material things. But a lot of them are starting to really get in the garden, and I personally know a lot of people that do biointensive gardening and different things like that. I do a little bit myself, and they're finding that even these younger guys are coming into the seed places. They're starting to grow food. They're starting to become they're getting an understanding of the whole farming purpose of food and herb, and it's really great to see. And you're seeing the consciousness grow. And I notice with a lot of with the fast-paced life that a lot of us live in. It's like a lot of times someone will smoke a joint and just really slow down and start to take in the trees and the sky and the stars, and so yeah, there's definitely a consciousness thing growing with this.
It's funny as you share that, I just have to jump in and say, instead of getting high, maybe what you're doing when you smoke that joint and slow down is you're getting connected. Maybe you're just saying, I am allowing myself to lift above an illusion and see the truth of what's in front of me without letting the illusion grip me, which would be the big truck, the fast cash.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I love how you phrase that.
Well, we're dealing with a state of consciousness in so many ways, and in a few minutes I would really want to jump into the spiritual aspects of expanding consciousness and all of that. But before I do, I was looking at some of the medical benefits, and one of the ones that was near to my heart was the whole thing with a decrease in seizures. I had an aunt who was very precious to me. She was one of those people in my life growing up that would always greet me with a smile, invite me to play cards, and she would. It's wonderful as a child to have a relative of refuge that you can go to who is always accepting you and had the cookies out and all of that. And so she came down with Parkinson's and when she got older, and the drugs they had her on made her stupid.
Yeah.
And so not only did her hand shake and all of that, but she became kind of a caricature of herself. Her personality, her ability to notice nuances and to be alive, to thrive, went away. And it was a sad thing. I never enjoyed visiting her during that time because it was painful just to watch her deteriorate and waste away. And I look at the effect that the cannabinoids have on reducing seizures and not dulling a person.
Yeah.
And say, gosh, what a benefit that would have been for her and millions of others, truly. The people, the attitude in our society is it's a drug.
Yeah.
And so many people are holding this conventional perspective, left
they've
over
been
from the reefer madness
Right,
propaganda.
but they've been programmed to believe it was a drug. I mean, we all were programmed, even though we might have enjoyed it or been working with it, and even though you would have always had your own. I mean, I remember I was very active about the reformation of laws when I was in college. Even though we had some of it, we didn't have this much then. We didn't have this much information.
No. The degree of science that's out there now is really enlightening.
Well, and I have to jump in because I know a lot of you might not even be aware of the fact that even our former Supreme Court Justice, just this past week, John Paul Stevens, came out in favor of legalization. And so we're seeing this coming in from people that in the past we would have never suspected.
Absolutely. We're going to take another station break and allow everybody to stretch their legs for a moment.
Ooh, take a breath.
And take a breath.
Take a puff. No, I didn't say that.
No, you didn't. And then when we get back, we're going to discuss some of the effects on consciousness and the future of human evolution. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The path of self-ascension is a conscious decision that brings your life experience into alignment with soul consciousness, the rare gift of an active approach to living in the heart and manifesting the present moment. Sri Ram Ka and Kira Ra invite you to visit Self-Ascension Magazine, a free online self-ascension hub that lifts your spirits and frees your heart to soar. On the Self-Ascension Magazine website, you can read Sri and Kira's perspectives on what's happening today. Discover a daily meditation and weekly practice. Watch special video and audio clips. Follow Kira Ra's messages from the Archangelic Realm and learn about upcoming events or courses. Relax and enjoy a visit to Self-Ascension Magazine online at www.shriandkira.com. Explore, participate, and unfold this rare treat for yourself. Remember, that's shriandkira.com.
Namaste, beloved one. This is Kira Ra, and I am inviting you to take a journey of the soul in the land of the heart. Imagine your life free from chaos and filled with creative clarity. Imagine waking up each day in your private lakefront casita, greeted by brilliant sun, flowers, and birds. It is here that you will effortlessly resurrect your divine blueprint in pristine energy. Yes, I am inviting you to join us for a personal resurrection vacation retreat at beautiful Lake Atatlan, Guatemala. Here, you can rejuvenate your life as you indulge in Tosa Spa cuisine, private healing sessions, yoga, tai chi, meditation, and loving support. Imagine enjoying pure air, zero noise pollution, and endless stars in this ascended nirvana. The time is now to claim your true joy. Learn more by visiting shriandkira.com and just click on the Resurrection Vacation Treat page. Tosa La Laguna, healing lives, healing hearts. We welcome you home.
Welcome back. We're delighted that you're with us.
We really are. And we're delighted that you're here with us and with our really beautiful guest today, Corey, our beloved grower in California.
And Corey, one of the things that really struck me was when you talked about how some of the new people entering the business of medical marijuana are going through their own learning curve. They were attracted by money, and then they start to find their heart, you might say, or they start to gain in some wisdom. Well, now, California has been, I was going to say California has been a card-carrying state. Didn't the state actually issue cards to identify medical marijuana patients?
Yeah, now a lot of them, when you go, like say there's one called Medican, and you can go there and they'll issue a card with your photo and everything on it, like a license, really.
Wow.
Well,
and then you take that to the dispensary.
So then you can go to any dispensary and you've been identified as an acceptable customer, a legal customer.
Exactly. They put you in the computer and so on, and then they make exactly. Otherwise, they'll get in trouble. If they're being watched or whatever.
Got it. So just to make sure that we're clear and our audience is clear, the difference right now between California and Colorado is that Colorado has approved recreational use versus California is still medical use. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Well, so then Colorado and now Washington State, I believe, as well.
Right, yeah, I think June. Is it? Do you know when that is, Corey? Is it June?
I don't know. I know that they're headed that way, but I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think it's June or July, Sri, this summer.
But what we're seeing is two different attitudes. Well, I applaud Colorado and Washington for just saying it's silly to pretend that this is a damaging drug. We're gonna lift the ban. That's great. However, I'm now looking at the ethic involved between really taking a serious look at organic growing with an emphasis on the medical benefits, the spiritual benefits, versus it's a party thing. And is it fair to stereotype that there's a difference between Colorado and California?
Well, I don't. I've been to Colorado many times, and we hear a lot of things, and they're moving forward in a lot of ways with different formulas and things for the oils and things like that. So I would definitely want to throw some credit out there to Colorado. I just think the difference in California is that we have a longer growing season, so we're able to do that 7 months of these really big, beautiful plants.
Wow.
And and we're doing a lot of meditating and bringing the energy in, and so there's just so many different grades of this weed. There's so many different aspects of it, and it's really fun. And a lot of people are changing. Some people are staying the same and using chemicals, and so.
One of the reasons that the difference in the growing, perhaps, between Colorado and California is because of the sun, or the availability of sun, or the availability of the growing season?
Yeah, I think it's the longer season. Like, say in Colorado, I mean, if we get certain types of potatoes from over there, and they're really short and fast, so you can get a quick potato crop. And it's the same thing with over here, but I think you can do certain strains, and you can spend more time outdoors with over there. You got a lot of cold areas, you're in the mountains, and so you're most likely going to be indoor or doing a light deprivation type thing, which is not a bad thing. You can do it organic, but getting that true sun, to me, is the ultimate
what is the light deprivation technique?
It's basically it's a greenhouse that you can cover with a black tarp, so that you can control the lighting, the timing of the light, so you can force them to flower when you're ready.
So let me ask
and so you still get that good sun.
Got it.
Oh, so you're seducing them to bud at a certain time.
Yeah.
Got it. So I do have one question, and this might be kind of silly, but I'm curious. Do you have to grow in the state that you're selling to a dispensary? In other words, is it prohibited to cross state lines?
Yeah, because that's when the feds that's when you go to jail, because that's their jurisdiction. Yeah.
Right. So it would seem to me that then Colorado is forced to get very creative, because isn't it like out of control that the dispensaries are running out, is what I've been hearing.
Absolutely, and a lot of people are using the black market to get it there, and they're completely running out, and we have a ton of it here. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
So when you say you have a ton of it in California, does that mean prices have dropped?
Prices have dropped considerably. I mean, let's say it was $2,500 a pound probably 6 or 7 years ago, and now this year we've seen it go as low as $600 a pound, depending on the quality. That's the lower quality, and the higher quality is around $1,700 a pound.
You were saying years ago it was $5,000.
Yeah, but now that the CBD is coming in, that's changing things. Now they all they want to do is make that super oil out of it, and they want to pay 6 times as much they were paying for the THC cannabis, and so the CBD is changing a lot of things.
Interesting. So really, it brings us back to the spiritual awakening. It brings us back to consciousness. And what I'm hearing from everything you're saying, Corey, what I'm hearing is it really comes down to, we could be talking about virtually anything. It comes down to consciousness. It comes down to the responsibility of the person who's growing, distributing, using. It comes down to your level of connection into the way that there's a receptivity into the body, Sri. I mean, this is what I'm sensing.
The thing about a chemical, and I'm speaking for myself, and so I just want to make sure it's clear, because this would be a whole big conversation potentially. But in my experience, that when one uses a chemical with the intention that is love-based. Now, it could be an intention to love your body, to care for your body. It could be an intention to love your life in a new way, to understand your life. How many of us really were seeking, what's my life purpose? Where do I fit? There must be more. Those kinds of perennial questions, when brought to a psychotropic drug, offer gateways of recognition.
True.
And certainly Timothy Leary and Aldous Huxley, Doors of Perception. You know, back in the 60s is when the whole LSD thing launched forward, and there were so many people that began to look behind the veil and understand that we're not just this body, we're not just our perceptions.
And what we want to make clear is we're not advocating this, guys. If you're listening to this going, oh my God, Sri and Kira are saying go out and do LSD, we are not. What we're saying is that there is an opportunity to go through the veil and open up your consciousness.
There is a legitimate use. However, most people do not pursue it for that reason. Most people are caught in the emotional pain of wanting to kind of get out of their own skin. They want to get numb. They want to get high.
Bottom line is, if it's a choice between a drink and a joint, I think the joint is better for you.
It's a healthier solution by all means. And yet I've traveled to Peru. I've met beautiful, twinkly-eyed shamanic practitioners. And to them, ayahuasca and gathering in the hut around a sacred fire and doing ceremony with
for the sake of spirit.
For the sake of communion. And it was the same in so many indigenous cultures with peyote and others. You know, it's what energy are you bringing to it is really the bottom line. And Corey, you know, what you were sharing earlier is your own transition. You know, I had a smile on my face because when we work in the earth, when we work in the sun, we cannot help but receive a healing. And we just have a minute before we close. Is there anything on your mind that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Or any resources or websites you want to offer them?
Yeah, I would just say to any of the listeners, just to check out, there's a website here. It's called Project CBD. That's CBD.org. And it has just a lot of the information that people don't understand, the other side of the story, the non-THC part. And I just want to say that also, the THC has to be in there. You can't just have CBD, and so THC is important. It's part of the whole plant. And I think you can really go through a lot of cycles with the herb. You can definitely abuse it, and you can hide with it and do a lot of different things with it. But I think if you use it within a balanced parameter, it can really enhance your vitality.
Well, and certainly, as Dr. Sanjay Gupta said, it can also truly offer profound, bona fide scientific medical cures. And if we go beyond the conspiracies and we go beyond personal judgments, we can discover that our beloved planet has always offered us everything we need, that there is no need to synthesize anything if we just open our heart, open our mind, and open our consciousness.
Absolutely. For every problem, there is a solution, and for every human being, there is the capacity to achieve peace and joy.
And Corey, we just want to say again, thank you. We are so grateful that you were willing to come on and to share so much valuable information. And for our listeners, it's projectcbd.org. Is that right, Corey? .org?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and you're welcome, and I'm so happy to be on the show. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot. We'll look forward to catching up with you again down the road.
And much success. I truly, in my heart, see you being incredibly successful, and we're very, very grateful.
Thank you so much.
And beloved listeners, until we have the joy of being with you again next week.
And next week, we are going to dive into, believe it or not, guys, electromagnetic mind control with a very special guest from China, Soleil Mavis Liu, who spent 12 years being controlled by the government. A fascinating story, fascinating show.
And we'll be reading more of your letters and questions next week as well. So
until that
time, may you know that all is truly well. Namaste.
Thank you for joining us at Sri and Kira Live. To have your questions answered, send us an email to guest@shriandkiraradio.com and check out more information at shriandkira.com. See you next week. Namaste.